Hi, guys. Happy Monday. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. Welcome to another episode of Double Shot of Steelers. This one is live and in studio downtown. The football team is off. As such, most everything is off. Everyone who's out there, whether it's to play or to coach or to push the water around or even just to do the stuff that we do covering the team, is off. That's not going to keep us from talking about football here. If you've got something, especially capitalizing on the opportunity that we have here, which is only going to be once a week now to interact with you, because the shows that we're doing out there, we can't even see the comments. So we had to scrap them while we're out there because the glare of the sun is too strong on the phones that we'd be looking at. So this way, let's get it all out of our system today. You're going to be the ones dictating what it is that we talk about, what it is that we fuss over, if anything. The team is off today, but it sure won't be off tomorrow. Tuesday is the first day in pads. And if you get the same vibe that I've been getting from the athletes, meaning hearing some of the contact that's happening on the field is probably not supposed to be happening, and then having them talk about, like, wait a second, wasn't this supposed to be the acclimation period? They are ready for this day. All you're going to see, hear, and read about, regardless of where you get your Steelers coverage, and here's hoping it's from DK Pittsburgh Sports on our website and app, is going to be about physicality. So-and-so hit so-and-so. Derek Harmon, who has looked good in the first week of camp, will actually have a chance to be good now, as opposed to you having to wonder, but what happened if he'd have been hit there? How many of these wonderful passes and other sequences would Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph or Will Howard have gotten off if TJ Watt was in the backfield sacking them? Not that you sack the quarterback in training camp, but you know what I'm saying. What you want to see more than anything else here is this team go to it, go at it. That's certainly what the head coach is going to be looking for. There will not be a bigger smile in the entirety of Westmoreland County than that being worn by Mike Tomlin. He is going to be so into this that there aren't even words for it. It's going to make people uncomfortable when they see how into it he is. This is a team that has to be built on physicality and has to be built ultimately on the big boys up front and the big boys getting nasty. Steeler South points out here that Y.A. Black has been patting down passes. That is correct. You have heard correctly. He has not been alone in that regard. Derek Harmon's had his share as well. Does it matter? No. To date, no. Because if you have your hand up like this and you're looking to swat down passes, but somebody's punching you in the mouth, it's going to be a little bit harder to get that hand up there like that. So we're going to talk about this stuff when we come back after this brief break. And ideally, again, this is going to be your show. You're driving this one with your questions. Good football questions. No goofy TMZ crap. Good football questions here. Let's do it right today, right when we come back.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Guys, this live episode of Double Shot is brought to you by Dazzle Sports, a premier source for sports memorabilia, from the National Football League to Major League Baseball and everything in between. Autographed memorabilia from your favorite athletes, including jerseys, photos, game-used items. You can also find cards and other collectibles. Show them some love. Do that. They've shown it to us. In return, you will get 20% off your entire order. Use the code DOUBLESHOT. Make it one word, DOUBLESHOT, at checkout at www.dazzle-sports.com. Dazzle Sports isn't just a store. It's where sports memorabilia comes to life. Lucy comes in and says, DK, so the Steelers are supposed to be all in this year, but what happens if Broderick Jones fails on the left side? Do they ditch the year so that they can see 17 games of Broderick Jones? No, Lucy. And I've thought about this myself. I think it's a really, really valid question to bring up, because on one hand you say, well, this has got to be his opportunity. You've got to see what you have. Well, you do and you don't. Okay. You can enter a season that way and you're going to hear them say things like that. But if he's not performing, I mean, Lucy, it was week 2 in Denver last year where Broderick was just really, really, really struggling. Multiple holding calls back to back to back to back. And finally, actually, I shouldn't say finally, it was week 2. Tomlin said, hey, that's enough. That's enough. He goes and he puts Troy Fautanu out there. And Fautanu played great. And then he got hurt in practice later that week. It's not a case of they're going to stick with him unconditionally. They can't. Joe says, DK, I know I left a comment on a previous video about this, but I haven't heard much about Beanie Bishop. Do you think that we'll see him in some plays this year? Joe, the odds are diminishing in that regard. Now, there are, of course, circumstances that can arise. There's guys that can get hurt. There can be performance. But right now, Tomlin has made clear, and so have the drills, by the way, that he's going to have 3 guys out there all the time, 3 coverage people, to use his new term. That's going to be Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slade, Joey Porter. What's he going to do with the rest? Brandon Echols is having himself a nice camp, and this is one of those few positions where you can actually say that it means something, because throwing the ball and defending the ball don't really look very different, whether you're smashing people or not. I mean, they do to an extent, but not all that different. Echols has been very good. He is CB4, if you want to call it that. He's going to be lining up out there a lot. Very, very good football player. And I did mention this at the time that he was signed. Jay Ward comes in as a new member. We appreciate having you, Jay. We appreciate having everybody who supports the program. You can do that yourself at dkps.net/join. That's how these other shows that we do, these special shows from Latrobe, that's how they become possible. Damian Ellswick says, Cordero Patterson being released, which happened today, by the way, according to no less an authority than Cordero himself, shows belief in Jaylen Warren, Caleb Johnson, and Kenneth Gainwell, as well as Cal and Kent as punt. No, it doesn't. Cordero wasn't going to play. I have no idea what he was doing here. Actually, he wasn't even here. Or he was here, but he wasn't here, and he wasn't practicing. And I have no idea why they brought him back. I really don't know why this move wasn't made forever ago, unless it's one of those technical Omar type of things. But yes, he has been released. Paulie says, with the release of Patterson, could we see a move for WR2 or offensive linemen soon, in your opinion? They wouldn't have anything to do with each other. If you're going to get a WR2, you're going to get a WR2. And then from there, you're going to cut someone out of the wide receiver room. Patterson, for all his versatility, wasn't going to be part of that room. Bus driver Al says, I heard Roman Wilson's looking good, although it's without the pads. I have not either seen or heard that, so I don't know where you're getting your stuff from here, Al. The best thing to do with these formats, man, you got questions for us, ask questions of us. You know what I mean? Ask, because we're out there. We're out there. We're watching this stuff. We're talking to people. You get a chance to get it firsthand instead of asking me something about what you heard secondhand from somebody else. Janet says, and this is something we've reported, if the defense keeps winning in training camp, does that speak to the offensive scheme at this point? Will they change up some plays? This is going to be a really fine line, Janet, because when you're seeing the defense play well, you have to be really mindful of what it is that the offense might not be doing well enough. And in some cases, it might not have anything to do with the offense. It also can work in the reverse. I talked to you guys a lot about the pass that Aaron Rodgers threw to DK Metcalf, the front left corner of the end zone. An absolutely pristine play that was defended elegantly by Slay. Slay was all over Metcalf, as Slay tends to be on most of the people he's covering. Didn't matter. The route, the pull at the last second by Metcalf, the turn, and then the throw by Rodgers. Absolutely perfect. So you can ask that all the time in all situations. And no, you're not going to see the offense adjusting, certainly not to anything schematically. It's training camp. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. Dale says here, DK, I know it's early. What's your biggest concern so far in camp? Biggest concern. Let me take a swig here and think about my biggest concern. Let's see. Yeah, the swig has inspired me to give you the most boring answer possible. I need to see Broderick Jones blocking people. Okay. I need to see Broderick being a dude. I don't think he needs to be the next great generational NFL left tackle. I just want to see him just be a dude, be a guy, be average. Okay. Be a left tackle that you can count on. Be dull. Okay. Be somebody who, when Aaron Rodgers is turning his back to you, which is almost all the time, he's not worried about what's coming. Now, on top of everything else, Jones is hurt. He missed a fair amount of drills yesterday. It looked like he was having his hamstring wrapped. We'll see what comes out of that. All Tomlin would say is day-to-day upper body. Very hockey of him, by the way. And we'll see how that goes. But he needs his reps, and he needs to have successful reps. Otherwise, get used to a whole lot of Dylan Cook and Calvin Anderson and whatever else here, and all of a sudden, all of our conversation will switch from WR2 to LT2 or even LT1. Anthony Nunez comes in as a new member. William says, how has Aaron Rodgers been when someone runs the wrong route? I haven't seen too much of running the wrong route in general to cite more than one example. He had a brief conversation at one point with Pat Freiermuth. But what I have seen is when he'll hand the football off and something doesn't go right on the run play. And I like that. Not all quarterbacks take ownership of the run game. Ben Roethlisberger was, Ben was great at everything. Okay. But Ben was really, really committed, especially and notably early in his career when he knew he had Jerome Bettis and he was going to have to do things a certain way just to stay on the field as a rookie, literally. Ben's always been good with that. I like seeing a quarterback who's invested in the run and who's invested in making it work, because the quarterback, after he hands that ball off, has the best view of the play. The best view, better than any all 22 tape, any coach, anything. Okay. The quarterback knows what went wrong and what went right. And I like seeing that from Rodgers. AJ says, do you agree with some of the reporting that Brod is? Again, AJ, you want to ask us about reporting? Ask us about our reporting. Daniel Pike says, going back to West Virginia, Zach Frazier had issues with snapping in case situations in shotgun. Are we concerned? You know, the funny thing about Frazier and snapping the ball last year was he had those issues as related to Justin Fields, if you'll recall, early on. And then they disappeared with Russell Wilson. So I kind of like the answer that I was given earlier about, what the fine line is between who's at fault with this or that. When it comes to the snaps, that was pretty black and white for me. And that's not to suggest that Frazier had no culpability in those snaps to Fields early in the season, but something happened. Either Frazier got a lot better or Russ was just a lot better at handling the snaps than Fields. And it could be that it's a little bit of both of those here. Yinzer of the Night points out that Rashawn Slater got paid. Yeah, he did, as a left tackle. And that's the kind of paycheck that Broderick Jones is going to be foregoing if he doesn't step up here. Russ says, how's the O-line depth? It's, I don't know that it's great. Okay. I like the idea early on for a bunch of reasons of Spencer Anderson being out there to take Isaac Seumalo's place, because what are you doing with Isaac is, in his 30s to throw him out there in 100-degree heat? Isaac knows what he's doing. He's going to be fine. Whereas you give Spence a chance to get really comfortable, more comfortable at the left guard position. He is, of course, also trained to be the backup right guard. Beyond that, I mean, if you're throwing Dylan Cook out there at left tackle, not to be a jerk here, but, that's not exciting to anybody. Cody Craven's making this like an all offensive line show here so far. If Troy Fautanu struggles or gets hurt, we might be in big trouble. I don't see Broderick being anything more than he's already been. Well, I wouldn't base anything off of anything to date. All of this gets started tomorrow. If you hear from me or Chris tomorrow, and we're both going to be out there, that Broderick or whoever is getting smoked left and right, you can start raising those antennas a little bit, because this is now what football is supposed to look like. There's going to be blocking. There's going to be guys trying to break through for real, and they're going to be hitting each other, and it's going to be loud. Preston Powell says, hey, DK, any indication that Darnell Washington and Darius Slay have made up from that game last year when Washington drove Slay through the end of the end zone? Oh my God, I've never asked. I had to think about it for a second of what you were talking about. I've never asked. That was the game out in Philadelphia, for anybody who doesn't know what Preston's referencing, where Slay, of course, was playing for the Eagles. It was early on. Slay absolutely should have been ejected and wasn't, which, by the way, was not a good thing for the Steelers in that game. But no, I had a good talk with Darnell the other day. Never crossed my mind. Alan Dennison brings the heat with this question. What's going on, Steelers? Like, what do we do with that one? Oh, boy. Victor Simmons is just eating crabs with his brother in Nigeria, who's visiting over there from Virginia, and watching this show. I got myself a pretty nice little visual there, Vic. Thanks, man. He's eating crabs in Nigeria. I don't have the boss's attention today at all.
Nigeria.
But Nigeria, she says, just to make sure that she... Nigeria. But the crabs, did you get that they were eating crabs?
Eating crabs
with who?
With his brother.
From?
Nigeria.
No. His brother's from. He's visiting Nigeria from? We got her. Virginia, close to Zimbabwe. Todd Walter says, DK, can you comment on what makes Pat Meyer a great coach? No, I don't think he is. What's the evidence? If he wants to claim, and he doesn't, so I'm just using a figure of speech, but if he wants to claim as a success Zach Frazier, maybe Mason McCormick to an extent, he is going to be judged entirely. I am telling you right now, and I don't mean by us because we don't count. I'm talking about on the inside. He is going to be judged entirely based on whether or not they get maximum first-round value out of Broderick Jones. And that's fair or not. It doesn't matter. If you're a coach, that's what the expectation is. We got you 2 first-round left tackles, and you delivered 1. That's just not going to happen. He's not going to survive that. I really believe that. John Cooper says, I liked our defense and the play of Cole Holcomb when he was healthy. How healthy does he look? Is there any sign that he'll return at 100%? I'm going to answer that in the backward, John. Every single indicator as it relates to Holcomb is that he is 100%, not that he will return to 100%. If you're asking about health. Now, if you're saying how does he look in terms of performance, pads are tomorrow. Okay, we'll start letting you know how they look whenever they start actually playing football again. That has yet to occur. Richard comes in with a $5 contribution. That's appreciated, man. Says, DK, what do you think the percent splits will be between Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson? This is going to be one of the more fun things to watch unfold over the course of not just camp, but into the preseason. And one of the indicators for how that might go, I think, will be who gets those first team reps, who gets those extra reps in the first half when you're still out there against real life football players? Okay. When you're out there against guys who have a chance to be in the NFL, not necessarily the starters. That's going to be so quick and out. But I want to see Caleb Johnson get his opportunities early in those games. I don't want to see the third quarter, fourth quarter bonanzas. Okay. We can leave that to the other guys that are on the list, the undrafted free agents and so forth. What do I think the splits will be? I'm not in the predictions business, but I will say that Jaylen Warren's going to start the season as your RB1, but that Caleb Johnson is coming on strong if you were to have this as some kind of a horse race. James Fairfield says, as of now, who will line up as WR2? This one's easy. TE2 or TE1. That's who. And the more this keeps playing out like this, and now that Jonnu Smith is back on the field, now that he's practicing, okay, you're going to have, you're just not going to have that many wide receivers on the field, okay? If you have 3 tight ends and DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin, who's WR2? And don't say Cal, because that's not the place where Cal's going to be lining up. They can be all over the place. Sean Grass says, if Will Howard gets a 158.3 rating in the preseason, should we start him, then bench him, then trade him to Philly? I know everybody loves Will Howard. I'm not here to rain on that. Okay. I'm trying to be gentle here. I see why the Steelers want to be patient. That's not knocking him. That's pointing out what his status is, what his very real status is. He is attempting to graduate from minor league football to major league football. There are so many football fans in general who think that the colleges are right there with the pros. They are not. They are not close. And when it comes to the quarterback position, even things like throwing the ball, the nature of the throws, I'm going to phrase this in a more positive light here before I get everybody mad at me. I think it's great for Howard to be around Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph because both of them throw hard. Mason's a different kind of hard thrower. Mason's more of a let's let it fly for 65 yards kind of hard thrower, whereas he's had to work on his touch. Rodgers is a master of the touch. Rodgers is a guy who can hit from anywhere and will do it with just the right amount of zip. And his zip is virtually double than what you see from the kid. The kid is still throwing college passes. Robert Sham asks, if Metcalf goes down, are they going to stack CA3 and Roman to replace him? And I think that's all this is about, Robert. That's why you need a WR2. You don't have that other receiver. You just don't. And, can you get one who's a backup type? Who, like, what they had hoped Mike Williams would be? I guess so, sure. But Nice Tokes comes in with a Nice Tokes avatar, I should add, and says, hey, DK, from everything you've seen in this incredibly short amount of time, what has you the most excited? I already answered what concerns me the most. What has me the most excited? I would say it's this 3-corner thing or the 3 coverage people thing. And I say that mostly because I never know where to find Jalen Ramsey, and that's cool. And then that in turn leads to less predictability for this defense. And do not underestimate the degree to which predictability contributed to that debacle in Baltimore. Everybody on the Baltimore side knew on every sequence where everybody on the Pittsburgh side would be and what they were going to do. Now, is that the head coach's fault? Is that the coordinator's fault? Yes and yes. But can you set up your entire scheme so it's a lot less predictable now in the off season while you have a chance to make it part of your identity? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've mentioned to you guys already that I've seen TJ lining up on the opposite side. I've seen inside linebackers going into the backfield. I've seen Ramsey going into the backfield. That's what Nunzio's asking about here. Do you think they'll blitz more? They're doing it already. I think they're going to get to the quarterback or get to the backfield as much as any team in the NFL. And unlike 2023 and 2024, it won't just be on TJ's shoulders. TJ can just be yet another dynamic weapon that they have. And I like that a lot. That's exciting. That's really exciting, actually. The combination of all of that. Jay Vincent asks, does Wilson plus CA3 even weigh as much as Mount Washington? Ooh, they'd have to weigh more, I would think, if you're asking it literally. But it sure wouldn't look like it to the naked eye. Plus, Roman Wilson's not small. I think there's a little bit of a perception in that regard. He doesn't necessarily have the broadest shoulders, but he's not small. Cal is small. He's also like really, really strong. I think we don't give Cal enough credit for that. We talk about him like he's some little wimp or something. This is a strong dude, certainly for his frame. Aaron asks, how's Peyton Wilson looked? Peyton Wilson is a guy who has a lot of belief in himself and who has a lot of belief that he can be a difference maker, in particular as it relates to coverage. He is that new generation of inside linebacker, the stuff that we thought was totally wild when Ryan Shazier came along and started doing it, is now kind of the norm. Is he going to be a guy who can straight line you back to the quarterback and be one of those blitzers? I don't know about that. I do know that he can straight line a lot of other things, and he is going to take away the screen passes and the edge runs, in addition to being able to get his hands on the football in coverage. He has capabilities. He really does, and he should not be forgotten. Joe attempts to compare Darnell's frame to Metcalf's. He says he looks like Metcalf to me, to be honest. He does not. He does not. Darnell is Darnell. Okay? They're standing right next to each other. You'd know exactly what I mean. And Metcalf is a specimen unto himself. On any other team, Metcalf is that guy. Not on this one. Not on this one. Chevy says, do Slay and Ramsey still look lively, or are we getting another Pat Pete? And, Pat Pete was good here. How did this happen? Because you're not the only one that does this. How did we rewrite Pat Pete's time in Pittsburgh as a negative? And go back and look at his data. Go back and look at his analytics. Guy was a player here. I don't even know how to answer that. Slay and Ramsey look terrific, but to throw Pat Pete under the bus here, I'm not sure I get that. He was a good player, unless it's just you remember one or two bad plays or something. That happens to everybody, and then because they're old, maybe you inflate it. But Pat Pete was a player here. If anybody agrees with me here, go well. Okay, well, Seabass right off the bat doesn't. Pat Pete was not good. He was but you can't support that with anything. Go find the data. Go find the data. He did everything that he was asked to do. He was moved around a lot. He had to fill in at different positions. He had to play safety when he'd never done it before. And we're down on Pat Pete? Come on. Mike says, I love Pat, and he loved it here. He did. And then, this is the truth. This is what happens. Come on, people. Pat P got burned one time. Yeah, and everybody remembers it. That's exactly how that goes. Bus driver Al says, Ramsey's probably like a kid in a candy store. Actually, he is. He is really enjoying it. He has this. It's not easy to read his expression through his helmet and his visor, but when you see a big smile under there. Nunzio says Pat Pete was fantastic for what he was asked to do. He really was. He really was, and he was stability in a secondary that really lacked it. He was trying to make up for other guys making mistakes. John Glink says it's expectation versus reality. We were hoping that he'd be locked down in multiple locations. He was good, but not. I mean, look at what your expectations are, John. Who is locked down at multiple positions on the defense? You couldn't say that about peak Darrelle Revis. You couldn't say he was locked down at multiple Positions. All anybody remembers is the bad. That's just how everyone is. That's what Carl says here. You know how the fans are, DK. Every player that doesn't break every record, they say that they're a bust. Marcus wants to know if Rock Taylor, undrafted free agent, can become WR2. Rock Taylor is about to have a whole lot of footballs thrown his way, and that will include preseason games, the second half of preseason games, but games nonetheless. It's all about what they do with these opportunities. I have not heard anything to that effect. I don't hear his name getting thrown out as a possibility, but you never know. You never know. Somebody can just totally jump up here. James Richard says, hey, DK, what about a totally crazy thought like giving Isaiah Loudermilk a few reps at left or right tackle? Alejandro Villanueva recently made that same switch from D-line to O-line and became one of our best LTs. Al actually went from wide receiver to tight end to tackle. I don't think Al was on the defensive side of the ball. Someone can correct me. But I thought Al's history was just to move closer in on the line of scrimmage. And by the way, Al's switch that you're describing took years. I don't see Loudermilk becoming an offensive player like this late in his career. You need Broderick Jones to be good. There isn't going to be any dancing around this. And Mr. CJ just wants to know here, what's the Broad update? I'm late. Was this asked already? Yeah, several times. Broad is going to begin his training camp, if he's healthy, and I don't know that he is, tomorrow. As it is, he had to have his hamstring wrapped and missed some of practice yesterday, so that's not a great indicator. That's not a great start to his camp. To date, I wouldn't take anything seriously, good or bad, when it comes to no pads, drills in the first week of training camp. That's not fair to anybody. Again, good or bad. Here, Damian says that Al was defensive line in Philadelphia before we picked him up, maybe on the practice squad or whatever. I don't know that he ever played in a game on the defensive side of the ball. That's new to me here. The PEF wants to know if Keanu Benton is in great shape and how's he looking in camp so far. Keanu he's in NFL shape. I don't know what to tell you. I never thought of Keanu as being out of shape, so I don't know that there's any glaring departure there. He does look like he has dropped a little bit poundage-wise. How's he looking? He's on the line, the PEF. You know how this rolls, okay? I'll tell you tomorrow how he's looking. What he's done to date, no matter who tries to fill your head with this and that and training camp stats and whatever, none of it even resembles real football until tomorrow. Marcus Taylor says that the Steelers made a mistake in putting Broad on the right side his whole career. Troy Fautanu is a left tackle. He should be over there. Hey, Troy's going to show well at right tackle. Okay, I'm not ready to make two mistakes for the price of one. Okay, however much you want to blame the Steelers or specifically Tomlin for the way that Broad was bounced back and forth in his first couple of seasons, you can go nuts. That's up to each individual opinion. Mine is that I watched Broad at right tackle as a rookie, and he was pretty good. And then the next thing you know, he comes into the next camp, and he wasn't good. So, what do you do with that? Sean points out that Myles Garrett has a 99 rating on Madden Football, and TJ doesn't. They don't overthink this stuff, Sean. They're looking at the same rankings that everybody else is. If you think that they're going deeper than Pro Football Focus, which has a very heavy and obvious Ohio bias, okay, there's nothing else to that. My guess is that TJ is going to get over it, presuming he even knows about it. Zach says this defense feels like it can be special this year with all the talent at each level. The defense, I can't wait for the season to start. Yeah, Zach, you're echoing what I said when somebody asked what's the part that has you the most excited. Steele's asking for a prediction. That's not coming from me. I don't do any any predictions of any kind here. In reporter land, we just deal with whatever is real. Here's an exciting one for you, promises Charlie. What are the chances of the Steelers going into this season with 2 punters? No. No. Here, you want to get real about this? First off, what would the other one do? Okay, if you have a need for a punter midseason, as the Steelers did in 2024, clearly, what you do is you just go and get one of the other, 25 or 30 punters who are on call, who are waiting. And that was the case, obviously, this past season with Corliss Waitman. Corliss was sitting around. He was waiting for the call. That's why he's Waitman. She's still not paying attention. Or she is and thought that was just legitimately not funny. No, not paying attention.
Waitman something?
Waitman, yeah. It was Waitman. I said Corliss Waitman. And what he was doing was he was waiting because he's the Waitman.
Okay, Waitman.
Wait, get it? Like it is spelled W-A-I-T here.
Waitman. Okay.
Can you guys send the laughs through the live chat? Can you do that? No, there is no way that there will be 2 punters because not because you wouldn't value them both, but because you're already paying one punter a lot of money in Cameron Johnston. And what you have to do here is you have to keep, there's only 53 guys. And what are you going to do? Are you going to send out a wide receiver that you need for depth? Are you going to send out somebody that you can utilize on special teams? Are you going to send out or cut an emergency backup, number 2, even a number 3 tackle or guard when you now have both your left tackle and your left guard already banged up at the beginning of camp? So no, that will not happen. Sean Grass points out that if you have to explain the joke, yeah, I get it. It's just that she never laughs at anything I say.
Very rarely.
Mr. CJ says, tell her a Bill Burr joke. Okay, now we're connecting Bill Burr to Cameron Johnston, and we're just going a little bit too deep into all of this.
No, this is his shot at me because of
I got it. Yeah. Oh,
that's fine. I can take it.
They never forget, they never forget that you don't, use this. We have a second microphone here.
It doesn't do anything.
It sure looks like it would. Second microphone hovering right over her, and she won't use it.
That's not what it is. You have me muted because there's an echo if I have a microphone too close to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Michael Cross says that's why we haven't been able to sign a WR2 yet. They have to be able to have the emergency punter as well. There's lots of cap space for a WR2. If they want a WR2, they're going to have one. Robin is asking, will anybody on defense try to light a fire on Broderick? No. I love the question, though, Robin, but the answer is an emphatic no, because all they want to do is beat him. Okay. And when they line up across from him, if they're licking their lips and they go ahead and do that, believe you me, they are not experiencing one pang of regret. See my thumb and forefinger? I think that's a pang. They're not experiencing even that much regret, Robin. They just want to win their reps. That's what Latrobe is all about. Frank has to remind us that he's just down about everything. He says, I want to get my hopes up. He does this every show, but I've been disappointed the last 10 years. Okay, I mean, dude, it's a whole new year. There's 9 starters who will be different from season's end to the season opener, at least, by the way, barring injuries and other adjustments. 9 out of 22 will be new. That's a lot. Okay, that's a lot of change. And some of it has led to things that will also be schematic and philosophical changes just by virtue of who the personnel are. Alex says I'm excited about this team. I don't know about the rest of you. We don't do y'all on this show. This is Pittsburgh. Or yins. You can do yins. We don't accept y'alls here. This is Pittsburgh. Let's do a couple more today here. Reclaimer says, would the Steelers benefit from robbing Miami once more for their WR1 or WR2 if it's not a good fit? I mean, Miami has come up, but the visible target, if you've seen the depth chart of wide receivers in Green Bay, would be the Packers, would be Romeo Doubs. They have so many young and talented receivers that they can actually make someone like that seem expendable. Are you going to have to pay a trade price for that? Yes. Is it going to have to be exorbitant? No. Metcalf is a guy that you give up a second rounder for. I don't know that you would do that for Dobbs, but you can get yourself a real live, big time, I think, wide receiver if that is in fact your priority, and if you have theoretical space for him. On the field, William wants to know about Juju. That's a no. They watched him getting his knee drained here every Friday. That's why Juju never became Juju again. They knew that. I knew that. Not everybody figured that out at the time. Sean says, we're just so used to watching disappointments in all of Pittsburgh sports that we have no optimism. I mean, they started 10-3 last year, Sean. I didn't hear anybody, this or that about how awful the Pittsburgh sports environment is, although it's not great. Okay. The Penguins are in kind of a reloading, whatever it is, phase. The Pirates are just being the Pirates. There's John says, my perception, this will be the last one for the day. Watching clips from camp is that Aaron Rodgers is forcing the ball to Metcalf a lot. He's not. Is that accurate in your assessment? No, he's not. If so, why do you think that is? Is he trying to work on chemistry? Well, the answer is that he's not. I understand. And believe me, there's a big difference between, trying to find what you can on clips when you're not even allowed to shoot this stuff here. You're looking for people that are doing it against the Steelers' wishes, by the way. The Steelers are asking people in the crowd to not do that because they don't want to give away their formations and so forth. So it's not just the media, but there's 3,000, whatever it is, people there. All it takes is one dude with a camera to send these out, but that doesn't mean that they're representative of anything. You ask anybody, John, who's been at these sessions, and that includes, fans, whoever, who are watching this, the ball's getting spread around by Rodgers quite a bit. And that includes to guys who aren't even going to make the team. So no, I'm not seeing anything to that effect here. The last crazy left tackle theory that we have comes from James Richards. Says DeMarvin Leal, he's got the size, the long arms, the quick feet, and already knows how edge rushers think. Villanueva, here we go again, made that same switch. DeMarvin's got a lot to show, and he's got a lot to show where he is. Let's take care of a little bit of business here on the show today. I'm going to do that now without the break. Chris Welch came in as a new member. Carol's asking, I missed this somehow, Carol. I apologize for that. The training camp day off. I wonder if they don't go home for the day. Some do. You do need to get away from all that, including the dorm rooms and all that other stuff here. Steelers South says, how does Broderick Jones' confidence level come across to you, DK? His confidence level always comes across strong. He's good like that, even when he has visibly been really, really, really bad. And I'm thinking of Denver. He stood there and answered every question like he's just going to – I never forget that one. I was wondering if he'd even talk after that game. I couldn't believe it. He was just totally good. I was the one that I walked up to him first and started asking him a question. I wasn't sure if I was going to get a, hey, man, not today. But he does not have confidence issues. Never sweat that one, at least not outwardly. Zach Hall dropped 5 gifts. Kerry Russell, as always, with the one new member in Reclaimer. Perk dropped $5 on us. So did Richard Hunt and Steve Smith with a gift. New members include Anthony Nunez and Jay Ward and, again, Chris Welch. And we're going to call this a show today. And I'm going to share with you that tomorrow, back out from Latrobe, we're going to go to the format that we were using from out there. So that means that the show will show up for you as a YouTube live premiere at 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay. And it's going to be loaded. It's going to be the stuff that's the physical stuff from camp. You're going to see Chris Dolnack's asking where the membership stands. If you can check while I'm blathering here, that we can put together a really nice show. We 2040. So we're still kind of like right in that same rut. It goes up, goes down a little bit, but it stays just a hair above 2,000. The goal here for anybody who's new is to get to 3,000 by the time the Steelers make it to East Rutherford, New Jersey for the opener on the 7th of September. So yeah, we're gonna have a really, really nice show for you tomorrow. If you aren't a member already, please consider doing so. It does make a difference. DKPS.net/join. It's 99 cents a month for our entire channel and all the bonus shows that we do and everything else. We'll see you tomorrow from Latrobe.